Hey there, lovelies. So, welcome to our live on what to do and how to manage your Chihuahua at Christmas, especially if you've got people coming, you've got people coming for dinner, you're having a party, or you've just going to have visitors, etc., in the house. Now, the first thing that I have to say, and you probably fed up with me saying this, and if you follow any of the stuff I do, is we are going to be working for the situation and not in it. Okay. Now, what that actually means is we are not going to try and manage our dogs when it's all going off. Okay. We're not going to try and suddenly start thinking about what to do with the dogs when people have just walked in the door and the dogs are going crazy and the people are trying to manage them, etc., etc. So when you're working there, you're working in the situation, okay? And everybody is going to have a full bucket, especially the dogs. And this is when teeth come out, okay? Now your chihuahua probably doesn't bite, but chihuahuas do have a tendency when they get stressed, etc., to nip ankles and things like that. We don't really want to get our Christmas celebrations off on the wrong paw with everybody. So we are not going to work in the situation. We're going to work for the situation. Now, it is not entirely possible to cover every and completely rehabilitate your Chihuahua now before Christmas. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is rather than behavior modification, is going to be management. But it will also give you some tips on how to manage the situation down the line so you can actually start to get some behavior modification in there, if that makes sense. Anyway, I hope it does. Anyway, so the first thing is obviously everybody's situation is different depending on where you live, the layout of your house, etc., whether you've got a garden, car, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you're just going to have to think about making this work for you in your situation. So the first thing is people coming in the front door. Okay, now that front doors in general can be a real hot spot for any dog because so much happens around them. Okay, the you leave, you come back in again. You have visitors come in, deliveries come in. So and then the dog can go out through the front door. So you can start to you can start to understand why a door can be kind of like a hotspot for any dog. Okay, a hotspot of anxiety. Now, the first thing to do is start your management here. Okay, reduce access to the front door, and I would start doing this now. Okay, so that they going and running up to people at the front door isn't their natural go-to behavior. So the first thing I would do is I would block access to the door. Okay, use a stair gate, a pen, or anything so that the dog doesn't naturally have access to people as they walk in the front door. And then this way, dogs aren't going to get trodden on, people aren't going to get nipped, etc. And it just generally starts for a calmer situation. Now, your Chihuahua or Chihuahuas, depending, whether you're a multi-dog owner or not, is probably still going to bark when people come in the door. Okay, we probably haven't got time to deal with that. Okay, but a game you can play with your dog now is you have your dog, you have your frame, your gate across the hall, sorry, across the hall, and the dog will be barking at the gate, is that you teach them to disengage from the gate. Okay, so a good game to start getting them used to playing is it's just food flicks. Okay, so have some food, practice this yourself coming in and out the door. So as you come in the door, the dogs are barking at the gate, have some food flicks so that there is more value in being away from the gate. Okay, so you come in and you might flick some food to the back of the room. Now, eventually, if you do this often enough, the dogs will know that this is what's going to happen and that they start to flip the value. There is less value at the gate and more value at the back of the room. Okay, so that's just one little game you can start to play to get them to disengage from the gate. Okay, now let's assume you're in the house and you've got visitors coming in the front door. Be prepared for that. Okay, now be prepared using things like lick mats, snuffle mats, snuffle ball. The snuffle ball in our house is a fairly new thing. Honestly, it's a game changer. My dogs absolutely love it. Even Mika loves it. So I'll put a link to these items in the comments below. So have this baited and ready to go, okay? And have your dogs stashed. So we put ours in the kitchen, okay? So they go in the kitchen, they have no access to visitors coming in. As the visitors come in, I will put a snuffle mat on the floor to keep them busy, to keep them engaged, and more importantly, to put them in a seeking frame of mind. Okay. If you follow anything I do, we talk about seeking and avoidance. Avoidance is bark, 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 stay away from me. And seeking is thriving, it's enjoying themselves, and it's happiness. So they are two mindsets. People have it as well, seeking and avoidance. So we want the dog to be in a more seeking frame of mind. So we will give them a snuffle mat, we'll give them a snuffle ball. We might use a lick mat, maybe put some of their daily food allowance on it if it's the right sort of food, or maybe smear some egg on it. A lot of people use peanut butter. Mine don't really like that much. Um, be aware of how much you're feeding your dog, though, because chihuahuas are really small. Anything that's going to keep your dog engaged. What we don't want is the dog engaging with the snuffle mat and then running to bark at your visitors. Okay, so keep the door shut and keep your visitors away from your dog. Okay, so managing your dog around the front door is really important. You can start to play these games with the dog before the big day and kind of get them a little bit used to it, but it really isn't going to be time to do a big behavior modification there. Okay, now let's assume you're having a party and lots of people are going to be coming in and out the front door at lots of times. You cannot really keep feed your dog, other because they're just going to end up being sick. If you overfeed a chihuahua, generally they just get an upset stomach. So you could think about keeping them in the kitchen, using your snuffle mats in the first instance, or possibly if you have a car, use your car as a crate. Okay. Now, I've done this before when we're having the whole family over. Arlo finds that really stressful. So I will put him in the car and I will cover all the windows of the car. Now, you only do this if it's safe. Okay. You're not going to do it if you park the car up the street. You're not going to do it if it's really hot. And you're not going to do it if it's really, really cold. Okay. Unless you've got a heat mat in there or something like that. But you can use the car as a crate so that your dogs go into the car, you cover the windows, you give the dog something to do, maybe a long term chew or something like that, and you get your people in, and then you bring the dogs in behind them. Okay. Rather than have this smash at the door of all this energy as they come in the front door. Okay. So those are tips for the front door. Don't be afraid to use your car as a crate, okay, because it can be really useful. Now, another good tip is to have your chihuahua on an indoor harness and line. Now, I do this a lot if we're going to have people in the house because I don't want it sounds like it should be about the people, but it's about the dog because I don't want um, them rehearsing, running up to and barking at people and finding people difficult. So I will put them on an indoor line with one of these really thin, um, sorry, an indoor harness with a really thin line. Okay. So I have complete control over the dogs and what they're going to do. Once you get your people in, okay, it kind of depends whether they're going to be sat or whether they're going to be milling about. If they're going to be milling about, personally, I would remove my dogs from the situation because I think the danger around food drops, um, getting trodden on, or sudden movements which are going to freak the dog out, especially if you've got children running about everywhere. Prince hates that. So if the grandchildren are run, 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 he will chase them. So will Mika actually, but he's calmed down a little bit now. And he will try and nip the backs of their ankles. It's almost like they're trying to control the situation. Mika, in his heyday, I mean, he's like 14 now, like coming on 15, would herd the grandchildren into a corner. And okay, right, you're going to sit there and you're going to stay there. And if you move, I'm going to nip you. Obviously, I'm not going to let him do that, but that's what he would do. So think about, is the situation that you're putting your dog in really suitable for them? Okay. If you've got party people and they're milling around, it might be a good idea to just remove your dog from the situation, or at least have them on a harness and indoor line and have them attached to you. Because obviously you've got these dangers around food. Okay. Now, Christmas is all about chocolate. It's all about Christmas cake, mince pies. don't think you have mince pies in the States, do you? But and they're not mince, okay? It's currants, okay, and raisins and dried fruit. On balance, they sound really horrible, but British people eat them. Anyway, so you've got Christmas cake, all full of sultanas and stuff. Sultanas are highly toxic for dogs, okay? Just one or two sultanas or grapes can kill a dog, okay? So it's really, really important that if you have visitors in and they're eating Christmas food and it's finger food and stuff like that, that you are controlling the situation so that your chihuahua is not picking up any drops. Or well-meaning people are feeding your dog stuff that they shouldn't be feeding them. Okay, so if you've got people milling around, then I would most for sure remove the dogs from the situation. If people are going to be sat down, it's slightly different. You kind of keep your dog on a long line, keep them on the harness, introduce them to the people, and then possibly see how they go. If they're just going to go and sit in their bed and be quiet on their boundary, then that's great. That's fine. If they're going to bark, bark, bark at these people and be anxious every time these people move, then again, I would remove them from the situation. Okay, I might put them in the kitchen with a bone to chew, or maybe put them upstairs with something to do. If they're going to be aggy about that, because I don't think Minnie would like that very much because she's a bit of a drama queen, um, I would have her on a harness. I would have her attached to me, so that she isn't just mugging people off for their food, because she would really would do that. So controlling your dog in the situation. And again, if they're not used to being on an indoor line and a soft harness, they're kind of mesh. Again, I'll put a link to the ones we use. Start practicing it now, okay? So that again, you're not working in the situation. So keeping your dog under control or putting them away would be best. If they're crate trained, fantastic. If they're not, then put them in a quiet room with a long-term chew and something to do, okay? The other option is if you've got someone who's not coming to the party that's a family member that the dogs are familiar with, then they could go and stay with them. But obviously, that's not going to work for everybody. Okie doke. So that's the first thing. Think about the situation you're going to be in. Think about what your people are going to be doing and whether the situation is a suitable situation for the dog to be in. And think about how you're going to manage that. Okay. And stopping these bursts of excitement and then rehearsing these bursts of excitement around the front door. So pegging at the table. Let's assume you're sitting down and your people are eating. Okay. Now, if you've got young people eating, quite often the average dog will go, you see that that person is not an adult. So I will start to mug them off. Okay. This would be a mini tactic. She knows a child. Children are her favorite flavor, basically. And she will basically follow them around because wherever there's a child, there is generally slime or something to eat. So again, this is a really good idea. Put the dog away with a long-term chew, if that is if you can do that. Put them in their crate if you can do that. Again, with a long-term chew, a crate is never a punishment. It is just their bedroom. Okay, the doggy equivalent of their bedroom. Cover the crate so that they are not constantly worrying about movement and people approaching them. Okay. So if that is not suitable, again, and this is what I do with Minnie, is she has an indoor harness on, an indoor line, and she is at my side and tethered. Okay. Now I'm either standing on her lead or I will tie her lead to the table, to my chair, so that she cannot go off and start mugging the grandchildren because that's what she likes to do. So once she realizes the decision to do that has been taken away from her, generally she'll just sit down and she'll just settle. Okay. So another good tip to stop the begging is to tether the dog on an indoor harness and an indoor line. Now, another thing we need to talk about are people, are your guests, and that is managing your guests because Chihuahuas don't always like strange people and they really may not love lots of people fussing them. Okay, it's they the hands then start to become an event, and anxiety around people's hands start to creep in. And it only takes one little nip, and then all of a sudden everybody's upset. Okay, especially if that nip is a child. So the first rule of thumb is people leave your dog alone. Okay. Now that is really hard for some people. So again, look at the situation. Is it a suitable situation for your dog to be in? Um, and can you trust the people that you've got with them to leave them alone? Okay. And not overfuss them. So if if they want to interact with your dog, then go, okay, that's fine. Take them, go out in another room and play some games with them. Provide some food that you've taken out of the dog's daily food allowance, maybe some chicken, and get that person maybe to play some little games with them, little food flicks, little catches, little spins, or something like that, so that they get an interaction with your dog and your dog gets something positive out of it rather than rehearsing behaviors that you really don't want them to do. Okay. But a hard and fast rule must be do not feed my dog. Okay. One, because chihuahuas are really, really easy to overfeed, and they can get an upset stomach, leading to pancreatitis, possibly overfeeding, which we don't want. And also, not everybody understands what dogs can and can't eat. There's also going to be a lot of nuts and stuff around. Now, nuts are generally okay if they're cut up really small, but there are some nuts, macadam nuts, I can't say it, I'll look that up. Can be quite difficult for dogs to digest, and some of the black ones can be poisonous. So again, there has to be a do not feed my dog. If you're sitting there eating and people are giving your dog little bits of fatty lamb, etc., again, you've got to think about the potential for pancreatitis or making your dog, it's too rich, making your dog sick. So again, there has to be this hard and fast rule about you are not to feed the dog. Okay, leave the dog alone. And also, your dog might start putting themselves in situations that they're not happy with in order to get the food. Okay. So a dog that doesn't really like strangers that much might go up to someone to get some food off them and then become overwhelmed. And then once they've got the food, they bite the person or they nip the person or they growl at the person. So again, you've got to think about it from your dog's point of view. So again, this do not feed the dog has got to be a hard and fast rule. Children. Okay, so you're going to have kids running about. If you're going to have a lot of kids running about, is this a suitable environment for your kids? Certainly wouldn't be for Prince. He would be up there, he'd be nipping people. It takes one bite, one little nip, one child in tears because, oh, the dog bit me, even when it really didn't. It's just not worth going there. Okay, so again, if you've got lots of kids running about, remove your dogs from the situation. They're better off being put away with a chewy bone and being a little bit nipped at you for being put away with a chewy bone than they are being in the middle of a massive maelstrom. I don't know how you pronounce it, but you know what I mean. A massive maelstrom, the teeth coming out, and the potential for upset, basically. So again, is the situation suitable for your dog? If you can't put them away, put them on a harness and maybe just put them on your lap, put them at your side. Ultimately, it would be better if the dogs were boundary trained, but this again, we haven't got time for that. Okay, so think about managing them in this situation. Now, last but absolutely not least, oh, actually, before that, okay, alcohol. Okay, people think it's funny to give your dog alcohol. People do. Okay, oh, he likes a drop of beer. No, he doesn't. Okay, alcohol is extremely bad for dogs. It is not funny when people give them beer or whatever. They probably wouldn't like it, but we don't want to take that risk. So again, the same thing applies to food: is that you do not give the dogs anything to drink, but you don't always get that one, don't you? That one uncle who thinks it's really funny to do the exact opposite of what you've asked them to do. Sometimes granddad Chihuahua power can be a little bit like that. And I say, don't feed the dogs that. So I go, she's not here at the moment. Here you are. I love you. Mummy doesn't love you. Yeah. There's always one. Anyway, last but not least, I would think, remember, sorry, words not coming out. Think about rest, okay, and how much rest your chihuahua is getting in this situation because the chihuahuas do a lot of doggy miles, and the more tired your dog is, the more aggy they're going to be, okay, and the more inclined they're going to be to get their teeth out or to growl or to snap, okay. So make sure that you think about how your dog is going to get rest. Again, if they've got a crate, fantastic. Move the crate somewhere nice and quiet. give them something to do or just settle them down in it for a nap. Okay. If they don't have, they're not crate trained, then just make sure that there's somewhere where it's nice and quiet, where you're moving them away from the excitement and they are getting the opportunity for a rest. And it's really important that people don't keep picking the dog up, okay? Because we are looking more at consent based handling and we don't want the dog to be constantly picked up and mauled around by everybody because I'm pretty guarantee that your dog doesn't want that, okay? So it's kind of really added an extra one in there. So one, make sure your dog gets plenty of rest and that you are conscious about how much rest your dog is getting. Because like I said, an Aggie dog is like an Aggie child, and there's going to be tears before bedtime or teeth out before bedtime. And neither of those are particularly very helpful. And not letting people pick your dog up. Okay. We talk a lot about consent based handling in Chihuahua school, which is basically about you don't pick and fuss your dog unless they are asking you to do so. Now, it's unlikely that they're going to go up to people that they don't know very well and say, "Oh, pick me up." Some do. Some of dogs are super social, and Minnie probably might. But what we don't want is people just scooping in and picking the dog up and making a fuss of them, because this starts to create anxiety around movement for your dog, and it starts to make them wary of strangers and of people. So again, hard and fast rule is do not pick the dog up. And if you really can't trust people to do what you're asking, look at the situation. Is that a suitable situation for your Chihuahua to be in? And how can you manage it so that your dog isn't put into situations that they probably haven't got the skills for and they're probably not going to enjoy? Anyway, so that was my very, very quick guide to getting a smoother Christmas with your Chihuahua. I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll come back to you and I'll answer them as we go. And yeah, basically, so I'm wishing everyone an absolutely fabulous Christmas. Don't forget, our Christmas jumper competition is on Sunday, the 15th. So there will be a post on our main page, which is the Christmas jumper post. And I want you to put your fabulous pictures of your Chihuahua Christmas jumpers up. We're going to have a class for short coats, a class for long coats. Not easy to say with a stutter. And it's based on likes and judges' decisions. So get your friends liking your Chihuahua, and we'll send you a fun prize. And we're going to feature you on our main Chihuahua page. So super duper, enjoy your Christmas. Please jump into our jumper competition. Come out right, but you know what I mean. And I look forward to seeing you soon. You take care. Bye.